during a worship service.
Bro, let me go, man. Let's go.
Zeke, the leader of the group, offered no apologies for the dust-up at Great Faith Ministry Saturday, only the reasoning behind.
It's Wednesday, yeah. Welcome to War Room Wednesday at the Den, where we praise through the pain till we win, Lift your hands, let the healing begin. This is where the fight is fought and faith steps in. War Room Wednesday at the Den.
Yo, man, welcome to War Room Wednesday, you all. These churches are getting crazier and crazier, and people are starting to speak out, which is a good thing, right? People have been quiet for way too long, letting these pastors do what they want to do. It's time to start letting our voices be heard. So let me ask you guys something, right? And I want you guys to really sit with this and also, sit with the answer, right? What are your thoughts on pastors living in luxury, driving the nicest cars? They say he was driving a Rolls Royce, wearing designer clothes, living in mansions, while the very people that they are called to shepherd are struggling to pay rent, to eat at night, living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. How do we reconcile that? Because on one hand, we believe in honoring leadership. Scripture tells us that those who labor in the word are worthy of double honor. But on the other hand, what does it say when the shepherd is feasting and the sheep is starving? Is there a line between being blessed and being excessive? And here's the real question. Does a pastor have financial responsibility to the people they lead? Not just spiritually, but practically. Should there be evidence that the overflow in the house is reaching the community connected to that house? Or has the role of the shepherd slowly turned into something else? Now, I'm not here to attack, but I'm here to bring awareness, to provoke righteous thinking, and to align our perspectives with the heart of God. Because at the end of the day, ministry was never meant to be a platform for personal elevation, but a call to serve, a call to sacrifice, and to steward God's people well. So let's talk about it. And before we play this video, please make sure you like the video, comment, tell me what you think about this. Subscribe to War Room so we can discern the culture and defend the kingdom together. Brace yourself, because this church is wilding out.
As those churches should. They say something doesn't add up when a pastor makes a lot of money, drives a luxury car, and yet the people who live near his church are in poverty. A scuffle inside the sanctuary after New Era Detroit protests during a worship service.
Bro, let me go, man. Let's go.
Zeke, the leader of the group, offered no apologies for the dust-up at Great Faith Ministry Saturday, only the reasoning behind it.
This situation is bigger than just Wayne T. Jackson. This is about black churches and black pastors who live a lavish life on behalf of the people, and they're not giving back to their community.
He's referring to Bishop Wayne T. Jackson, the wealthy pastor that welcomed Donald Trump, drives a Rolls Royce, and lives in a mansion. Zeke was there for the offering Saturday.
When they started the offering at $1,000, and then they said if you don't got $1,000,
$1,000, that's not even a tenth for most people. $1,000 in impoverished communities,
then do 300. And if you don't got cash, then we got ATM machines. I don't understand that logic. I don't understand that way of thinking, and I don't understand that to be what religion is.
New Era Detroit says the neighborhood surrounding Great Faith Ministries is by and large impoverished.
This guy has networks, churches, fancy cars, you know what I mean, $1 million houses, and there's babies in this community that's going without food at night. Somebody has to be frustrated about this enough to do something that will get people's attention. And that's what
we are all frustrated behind that. And I understand him. I absolutely do. Because this pastor, Wayne T. Jackson of Great Faith Ministries International, people are waking up. They're growing frustrated with what feels like pastors are fleecing the flock, robbing the flock, placing financial demands and pressure on people when they're already struggling. Most people don't even have $1,000 in their savings, let alone to just offer that on 1 week on a Sunday service. And mind you, like, They're asking for it probably 4 Sundays out of the month, asking for that $1,000. And when you see a congregation that barely is making ends meet, yet being pressured into giving amounts that doesn't even reflect the tithe that they currently have, but rather than obligation, or it's manipulation. It raises real concerns. Because where is the compassion? If you're living in a mansion, you have Rolls Royces, and you're seeing your community struggle, why aren't you trying to make a change in that community? Where are the programs? Where are the church institutions, the programs from the church to go ahead and support the people? Where's the shepherd's heart? That's my question. Because biblically, giving should come from a willing and cheerful place, not coercion, not pressure, and certainly not at the expense of someone's well-being, you all. When financial expectations feel disconnected from the reality of the people, it starts to look less like ministry and more like gain. They are gaining off of these people. Now, as far as how he responded, was it right to fight in the church? No, definitely not right to fight in the church. But people are in outrage right now. But in a church, there is a standard of how we conduct ourselves, especially in the house of God. Like, come on, let's be real. But at the same time, I understand him. I understand the outrage. I understand him being a leader for the people and stepping up, because that's the issue that I have in the church, is how there would be a whole congregation that doesn't necessarily agree with the pastor, but they're too scared to speak out. They're too scared to say something to them because they think that they're just at a different level. And don't get me wrong, spiritually, you know, they hold a different title. I completely understand that, but that shouldn't stop you from actually talking to the pastor and expressing where you feel that some things could be improved or some things aren't right. Like, that should never happen. If you're ever in a situation or a church where you feel like you can't connect to your pastor, you can't get in touch with your pastor, then I don't know. I feel like you are a donation. You are a dollar amount. I've been in churches, multiple churches, where you couldn't necessarily, like, the pastor was treated as a celebrity. And I didn't like that too much. I didn't like that at all. Like, they were guarded. And I'm like, you are here to serve, sir. You are here for the people. Now, don't get me wrong. I know people are crazy. I know they have to be careful. But when it comes down to your pastor being looked at and treated as a celebrity, and, you know, they're being ushered from the pulpit to the back, and you can't get in contact with them. The next thing you know, they're just leaving out the side door, driving home. And it's just like, where's the shepherd's heart? Where do you connect with the people? But when it comes down to offering, you want to spend 30 to 45, almost an hour praising, manipulating the congregation to go ahead and offer, but you can't spend 15 minutes after service to have a conversation with your people. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. And even in the Bible, there's a moment where Jesus himself walked into the temple and flipped tables. That was one of the best moments in the Bible. He flipped tables because people turned a sacred place into something corrupt. His anger wasn't random. It was righteous. It was rooted in defending what God intended. So while I may not fully agree with the method of him fighting in the church, I can respect the heart behind it. The courage to stand up and say that this isn't right, and to challenge something that maybe feels or is exploiting the people. But at the end of the day, this isn't about tearing down the church. It's about calling it back to what it always was meant to be: a place of truth, a place of integrity, a place of compassion for the people, a care for God's people. And that's the conversation that we really need to have, and we need to open up. It's not taboo, you all. The church needs to be restored. We need people on the front line stepping up and actually speaking out against these crazy situations that we are facing right now. You can't buy blessings. You can't buy your way into heaven. But when they advertise blessings to get favor, when they advertise your tithe to get favor, to get blessings, and that's when we're entering a different area. Now we're idolizing money. Now we're putting money before God.